Welcome to Sync Up, a show about OneDrive, the intelligent files app for Microsoft 365. We are your hosts, Ankita Kirti and Jason Moore. I am Ankita Kirti, Product Manager on the OneDrive team.
And I'm Jason Moore, Group Program Manager for OneDrive. This show will take you behind the scenes of OneDrive, shedding light on how OneDrive connects you to all of your files in Microsoft 365 so you can share and work together from anywhere while protecting your work from accidental loss and malicious attacks.
Today, our guests are Brittany Chua and Jonathan Leung. Brittany is a software engineer on the OneDrive Sync team, and Jonathan is a senior program manager with the OneDrive team. And the topic we are going to discuss with them today is empowering Mac users.
So don't go away. We've got an exciting show.
Now, I'm sure everyone knows that OneDrive is our intelligent files app that connects us to all our files, be it our individual files or team files, and that too from any device, mobile, PC, or Mac. And you can access and work on all these files not only when you're connected to the internet, but also when you're offline. This also means that you always have access to your most updated content. So basically, the edits that you're making offline will automatically get uploaded next time you connect to the internet. And when we talk about all these wonderful functionalities, access to files, offline use, co-author on desktop, they are all brought to life due to our Sync app on both Mac and PC. So today, we are specifically going to discuss about how we empower our Mac users to have secure access to all their files, as well as be more productive and collaborative. Now, Jason, in the first episode, you had shared our evolution from Groove to the new-gen Sync app. And I'm sure we agree that Sync is one of the core functionalities, building blocks, if I may say so, for OneDrive. And over the years, we've been heavily invested in the performance and robustness of the Sync app for both Windows and Mac. But today, specifically for the Mac users, can you shed some light on this journey?
For sure. It's been interesting because I think the last couple of years have felt like a renaissance of sorts for Mac users that are using Microsoft software and services. Whether you're talking about Office clients on the Mac, you're talking about even using our experiences in Safari as your web browser on the Mac, or as near and dear to our hearts, using OneDrive either on the Safari or using OneDrive Sync app on the Mac itself. These are all experiences that kind of have really come together over the last couple of years in a way that maybe they haven't in the past. For us, our journey goes all the way back to folder share in terms of thinking about how we bring these capabilities to the Mac and bring them alight. And in the last couple of years, we've made a real significant effort to kind of bolster that by bringing kind of the same capabilities and rich features that we've developed on Windows to the Mac. Files on demand is a great example, the ability to right-click and share from anywhere in Finder, just like you can in File Explorer on Windows. And of course, the notion that as an experience end-to-end, we really think about Mac users not just being someone who might use a Mac occasionally, but someone who lives on a Mac entirely. And
a power user.
A power user from using Outlook to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of that backed in OneDrive to browsing all of our services on the web. That's really one kit and caboodle that we really try to think about as being kind of wholesome in that.
And don't forget about the Office integration, things like co-authoring and editing documents, even when you're offline, when all your edits and updates gets uploaded the minute
Absolutely.
You're back online. These are all great functionalities, and I'm pretty sure helps all our power users on Mac be really productive and collaborative on the go. Jonathan, can you give us a walkthrough of the major functionalities that are supported by OneDrive in macOS?
Sure, absolutely. So just taking a quick step back, OneDrive, one of the key promises that we have there is that you can access your OneDrive on any device, and that's no different on macOS. So on macOS, we bring those files down to local file systems so that you can, access it exactly how you expect to. So you can go and, see those files inside a Finder, and you can open it up with your favorite applications such as Office. So some of the core functionalities that we've built on top of just bringing those files down, for example, is files on demand. Because those files are actually backed up in the cloud, we can actually do a lot more than just a local file. And part of that capability is we can actually save a bunch of storage. So imagine you have a file on the local disk, it's taking up space, and your MacBook is running out of storage. Because those files are actually backed up in the cloud, you don't actually need those bits on the local machine. So with Files on Demand, you can right-click or alt-click and go to the context menu and say, hey, free up the space. It's all stored in the cloud, and I can go and download that file when I actually need it. And all of those capabilities is really only possible with Finder integration that we've done there. So when you open up OneDrive within Finder, you can actually go and see the current status of that file, whether or not it's actually on the local machine, or whether or not it's syncing, it's in sync, and, share it directly with Finder and a whole bunch of other functionality there.
Just for our Windows listeners who maybe don't have a lot of Mac deployments, what's Finder again?
Finder is, your equivalent of Explorer, your ability to actually browse your local file system there. So you'll see a lot of parallels between both the Mac and PC there, where we try and bring these great experiences to both platforms. Something you might not have known about. So if you look at the top of your Mac in the menu bar, you're going to see also the OneDrive cloud. And when you go and click that, that's going to open up our Activity Center, showing you a rich view of your history. So you can then see, hey, what are some of the recent sync activity that's happened on your files, be it uploads and downloads. And that becomes increasingly important because we have a new feature that has recently rolled out, differential sync. So you can actually see the progress of the file along with, just a little bit of changes that need to be uploaded or downloaded for that file, saving you a bunch of bandwidth.
And in fact, I believe we had Andre talking about differential sync on 2 episodes ago, which is just an awesome feature, making sure that only the file bits that are changed get synced. And that works equally well on the Mac as it does on Windows. Yeah. And it's just an awesome feature in the sync client.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, within our UI, our user interface, you can also, access other features such as pause and sharing and other capabilities within the Activity Center. So that's the main access point for most of what you'll want to do on OneDrive.
Now, I can also share from the Finder, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, we were talking about Finder integration a little bit earlier. Of course, if you go and navigate to your OneDrive note, any of those files, you can just go and alt-click on them, in which then you're going to see, a sharing option there. Clicking on that's just going to open up our universal control that's found on all of our OneDrive endpoints. Mm-hmm. So making sure you're going to be familiar with that control.
Thanks, Jonathan. Brittany, so Jonathan told us a little bit about the capabilities of OneDrive on the Mac and kind of how it's a full-fledged experience. But I thought it might be interesting if you could, especially from the engineering experience, talk a little bit about the unique challenges we had to solve in order to bring OneDrive to the Mac.
Yeah, of course, Jason. When I first started in this team, I'd say 4 years ago now, we were still doing separate development for Windows and Mac, and that meant usually 2 different engineers would actually be doing the same feature at the same time, and that just doubled our engineering costs. And recently, starting with the Activity Center, actually, that was our first project using the Qt framework, which allowed us to do the development once, and it actually will compile for both of the different platforms, and thus we are able to see the same UI and interact with the same one. So if you're both a Windows and a Mac user, you can actually see the same UI in both platforms, and so you get more familiar with them. And it also saves our dev costs because we only have to do it once, and we have to do some maybe back-end tweaking, and it works on both platforms.
So that means that we get to spend more people on more cool new features.
Of course, yeah.
Awesome. So didn't we also have some sandbox issues to deal with in terms of delivering the sync client on Mac?
Yeah, so when we're in the Store app, we always have to think about how we're interacting with the file system since we are sandbox. And that meant whenever we're syncing a new file, we have to make sure that we have a bookmark for that path. And that was a particular worry when we were doing SharePoint team sites in addition to our business, our ODB syncing, OneDrive for Business. And we had to actually re-ask the user for permission for that bookmark because we had to create a separate folder for those SharePoint team sites.
Right, of course, because every team site that you sync is a different node in Finder, and so it has different new permissions that need to be set for it when you're a sandbox app from the App Store, right?
Right. So we do have some new UI there that just says, hey, can you confirm your location? And when you do, we're good to go for that team site.
Okay, so I understand we also have had to deal with character issues between Windows and Mac. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if you are a Windows and a Mac user, you may not be familiar with the other half of it, which is that the other platform may have illegal characters that aren't accepted on Mac or Windows, vice versa. And so as a service as a whole, we have a illegal character set that we just set as a standard that both platforms are not allowed to use, such as, your periods, your slash, your question marks, your colons. And so if you're a native Mac user, you may question why you all of a sudden have an illegal file character error when you drag a new file into your OneDrive namespace. And that's because it may not be able to be sunk into your Windows file system. And so we're actually doing a auto rename feature for users who may be questioning what they have to fix up in order to get to that sync up-to-date state. And it's been released on Windows. Can I say that? We're working on it on Mac.
Absolutely. I think a couple of our Mac users were probably rejoicing.
Awesome. All right. You heard it here first.
So I am amazed by how active the community of Mac admins are. Jonathan, as a team, what do we do to engage with this community?
Sure. So just thinking about that, on the Mac side, we do all the same things as Windows. We have our normal different channels with our technical account managers talking to the product groups directly, getting feedback. But on the Mac, as it is a smaller group, we actually do something a little bit more special there. For some of the audience out there, there's this community of Mac admins, literally called Mac admins. These are different admins from all across the country and across the world that kind of help each other and make their deployments on Mac successful. And this isn't only Microsoft product, it is, any product that admins can use out there. And so Microsoft as a whole actually has a pretty big presence on there. All of our different teams are represented. And I personally actually run the OneDrive channel there. So for any admins out there that are looking for a little bit of help deploying, just stop on by, just search Bing, Mac admins Slack, and come join the channel there. We'll go help you out. But anyways, just taking a step back, because of the smaller size of Macs compared to PCs out there, it does give us that affordance to kind of give that additional avenue where we can scale a little bit there to kind of help each other out. But one of the best parts about this community is, after I answer a question, I typically don't need to go answer that same question. Our admins are helping each other. So it actually becomes this kind of self-help location where admins also share a bunch of different scripts for deployments and best practices and tips that they may have to share with others.
Great. And in case one of your listeners, if you're not a part of this community already, we'll share information about the same in our show notes.
Now, is there anything in particular that, Jonathan, you've learned from working with the Mac admins? Is something that comes to mind in terms of, it was interesting or surprising or just reinforced something that you knew?
Actually, working with this community is probably one of the easiest things I've probably done so far in my career. It's amazing because it's funny. Prior to coming to Microsoft, I'd actually never worked on a Mac before. And so, the first couple of years was really just me really digging into the system and learning. But there's only so much that I can personally learn, right? Actually, because I've been a part of this community, I myself have learned a ton about the Mac and how, preferences and defaults and MDM solutions go work on there. And, it's a community where I'm both giving and taking back from it. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that he started working on Mac after joining Microsoft?
That's awesome. And of course, our listeners can't see in the booth right now, but Jonathan's got his MacBook that he never leaves home without out in front of him with his notes for this show, which is great. I love that we're living in that and living that experience through all of it on our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I love that we've delivered on the Mac has been bringing the Office integration that we did on the PC to it. That, for those of you who aren't aware, that means that when I open a file on my PC or Mac, if it's a Word document or Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, the client can automatically know that that's connected in the cloud and then enable all sorts of cloud features because the file's backed in OneDrive. Brittany, I thought it'd be interesting if you could tell us a little bit behind the scenes about how all that works in terms of delivering that Office collaboration and sync integration.
So whenever you open that Office file, so say you're in your Word, Office actually communicates with OneDrive and asks us, hey, is this backed by OneDrive right now? And if so, we're able to allow Office at the time to take over the sync of that file while the Word app is open. And so when you're editing in that file, you're able to collaborate actively with your fellow editors. You can also share that document right from the Word app. Just like Jonathan mentioned, we have the same shared dialogue that you're already familiar with. You can also comment and mention other people. We give you some merge capabilities in case that someone came back online after some offline editing. And we also allow you to auto-save as you're editing live.
And were there any unique challenges to delivering that on the Mac?
So for when we did it on Windows, we used the COM layer in order to talk between the two applications. And of course, on the Mac, we don't have such a thing as a COM layer. And so instead, we use the NS connection. And so we open a port from our OneDrive app, which the Office app will talk to and say, hey, here's a file path. Are you responsible for this? And if so, we give them the thumbs up and we lay off until Office then communicates back to us that they're done editing the file. They tell us what the updates are, and then we pick up editing from syncing from that point.
Awesome. So COM versus NS connection. Wow. Okay, cool. So that was a difference in changing that. And of course, like this means that I can do things like share and comment on that file. I can have access to merging it, like you said. Autosave works this way. That's really cool to kind of see those things come together.
Also works.
Yes, and of course, most critical of all, the ability to co-author documents is enabled through this. So what are some future improvements? What are some things that you're looking forward to delivering and doing there?
Well, I'll break it down to two big buckets here. The first being reliability. So we've monitored your user feedback and the telemetry that we've received, and we're going to improve the integration experience by making sure that you have less merge conflicts and less errors overall. And the second bucket is that we want you to be able to collaborate with more people at the same time. The more, the merrier here.
Awesome. Okay, that'll be cool. I'm really looking forward to that.
So what advice would you give a new Mac user or an admin?
I can start us off here by saying how we would like our end users to be in the ideal state, which are a list of our best practices that will bring you to the best experience possible in the Sync app. First of all, we want to make sure that OneDrive is always running, and you can do this by going to your system preferences and adding us to your Open at Login list. We do this for you for the standalone app, but please do this for the Store app. And next, we want you to make sure that you enable the Finder extensions, which allow you to see those file icons, which for syncing, you would have the blue whirly arrow. And if you're all good to go, it's that green check mark.
And you also get the sharing extension, right?
Yeah, so if you right-click on any file, you can see that you have the options to share, view online, or free up space if you have files on demand on. And speaking of which, that's our next tip, is to turn on files on demand, which if you are on an APFS case-insensitive drive, we already turn it on for you. And this allows you to save space for those files that you aren't currently using. Next up, make sure you're on the latest version to get our newest features and fixes. And lastly, for the Store app, we want you to be able to easily access your files again. And so we want you to be able to drag the OneDrive folder to your left nav favorites. And of course, we already do this for you for the standalone app.
So if I get this right, and just to summarize, an ideal state for the OneDrive Sync app is going to help us firstly deploy and prep the OneDrive Sync app and also drive user engagement. And the stuff that you mentioned were updates and rings, files on demand, Office integration. Did I miss anything, Jason?
Open at login.
Yeah.
So that means that when you sign into your Mac, you want it to be running. So you want to make sure that that's happening as well. That way, your files are always backed up and protected in OneDrive.
Yep, cool. Brittany, do we have any support documentation for this that people can refer to?
I'll jump in here. I'm pretty sure we already have some articles about ideal state and the OneDrive sync client. So you can just go do a quick search and find the article there.
So we've mentioned a couple times actually in the show the standalone and the App Store version. And unlike on Windows, we actually have two versions of the Sync client that can get deployed. Jonathan, can you tell folks a little bit about why that is, what that is, and how they should think about it?
Sure. So yeah, we have two versions of the OneDrive Sync client that run on macOS today. And there's one that's distributed from the store, which is the store version. And we have our standalone version, which you can go download from, OneDrive.com. And there are some some, key differences there in terms of the capabilities as Apple actually enforces sandboxing with the store version. Really what this means is, the capabilities of what that application can do on the device are actually locked down and make sure that the user gives consent for all of those things. And that's why, Brittany mentioned the user needs to manually go and, enable Open at Login, the Finder extensions, and also adding our OneDrive node into the left nav of Finder. So outside of, just the basic capabilities of, the restrictions there, the standalone application also allows for a couple different things. One, the standalone application updates itself rather than relying on the store updater. And really that gives you the capability to jump over to different rings, release trains from the OneDrive Sync client. So if you wanted to go jump into our early access preview and see all the latest new features, you can go ahead and do that. And then additionally, lastly, it is actually a more configurable thing for admins because there are no sandbox restrictions. For example, you can just specify with a default, hey, I want my OneDrive root folder where all your content's going to live to be specifically in a certain location. If you deploy that on the store version, we'll go and use that as a default location, but the user still needs to go and confirm that. Whereas on the standalone client, we'll just take that and be like, cool, yes, that's where we'll sync.
So I think what you're saying is standalone version gives you more control and more capability out of the gate, but you can also leverage and use the store version if you please, and you'll still be able to get to those features. You just have to jump through a couple more hurdles.
Yeah, that's correct. We do absolutely recommend the standalone version for all of our admins out there deploying the OneDrive Sync client.
Cool. And we do have a tool that helps you transfer your data from the store to the standalone.
Yeah, that's correct. So if you've already set up a deployment or you're just an end user out there who's already using the store version and you want to jump over to the standalone version, you can just go and run our OneDrive.pkg. And on the next time that you start up, we'll do a quick prompt for credentials of your macOS. And then we will just go and migrate all your settings over and everything will just work automatically.
Awesome.
So coming back to the earlier discussion, Jonathan, what would your advice be for a new OneDrive Mac admin?
So for all of our admins looking to deploy OneDrive for the first time, Brittany already kind of spoke about the ideal state and how to get the best productivity or give your users the best experience so that they can be the most productive. Well, all those settings there are actually already defaults or preferences that you can go and configure. So you can actually go and grab your favorite MDM solution, be it Jamf or Intune, and you can actually go and configure every one of those things. We have documentation online that you can go jump to, or you can come over to the Mac Admins channel and ask some questions there. In addition to that, we have a couple new features that we'll be rolling out very soon, I believe. And the first one is conditional access. So for all of you admins who are trying to make sure your data is safe, you can now go and set policies there to say, hey, unless this device is MDM'd, they will not be able to actually sync that content and make edits there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Additionally, we're also adding single sign-on capabilities for all of our Microsoft products. So if you've configured OneDrive already with a specific user account, your Contoso email address, when you go and log in or start up Office application for the first time, the email will already be there. It's just going to show up. And if you hit and select that identity, you don't need to go and sign in again. So that just makes setting up on macOS that much easier.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan, this was going to be the month-end surprise and a part of my roadmap blog. But thank you for telling the viewers about it much in advance. And for folks who are listening, if you want to learn more about the feature that Jonathan just mentioned, follow up the feature ID 16636 on M365 Roadmap. You'll get to see more about it in the month-end roadmap blog.
Last question here for our Mac audience. Any pro tips for the power user out there?
I think that my favorite tip here is for folks that are on files on demand. If you find that your cloud files are being downloaded without your knowledge by a certain rogue app, you can actually go to our preferences and add that app to our block list. And that app will no longer be allowed to download your cloud files without your explicit consent.
Wow. I didn't know that. Did you?
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool feature. Okay, Jonathan, Brittany just set a high bar. What's your pro tip?
All right. So one of the features that I actually use a lot that maybe some of our audience out there might not know about is screen capture. And this is a feature that's available both on Mac and PC. And it's something I use on a daily basis because, I work on a bunch of different devices. I have a Mac in front of me and I have a PC desktop back in my office that, I'm going to switch context all the time. And what this really does is any screenshot that I take will automatically be moved into my OneDrive folder and thus uploaded into the cloud. And so I can just go turn to my other device and that file is going to be there almost instantaneously. In which, because it's also uploaded right away, if I need to share that to somebody, it's just a click away. So that just makes for a very fast and clean flow.
I love that one. I use that all the time myself. But mostly I use it to screenshot things and send them to you and say, why is this here? Like filing bugs with that. I found that really useful.
Yeah, that is a daily occurrence where I need to go file a bug on behalf of Jason Moore.
So that was a great discussion. I really did not expect it to be this great considering I was jet lagged and he was not jet lagged. Sleepless in Seattle. 2 out of 4 people. But Jason, we still have one question to go.
Yeah, we have our question to the group. So our question this month is, what was your top song of 2019 on your preferred streaming service? I'll go first. I've got my phone out here, open up to my preferred streaming service. I've got this playlist here with the top songs. And my number one song in 2019 was Coma Idyllique by Therapy Taxi. Brittany, what was yours?
Mine actually came to a surprise for me, and it's probably because I watched the musical Dear Evan Hansen in Broadway a couple months ago, so it's Requiem from the Broadway cast.
Awesome. Jonathan?
For all those listeners out there, they'll probably, if they know what the song is, they'll understand why I'm a bit sleepless. My top song of the year is Call to Arms by Gareth Emery, and it's the Cosmic Gate remix.
Awesome. All right, Ankita, take us home. What was your top song of 2019?
My top song, it's actually a couple of songs from the same band. The band is called LSD. It's nothing to do with drugs. It's a combination of 3 people, Labyrinth, Diplo, and Sia. And the song is Thunderclouds, and the other song is Genius.
Awesome.
Yep. And they have great videos as well, so you should check it out.
Awesome.
Might not be as good as your French songs, Mr. International.
Je ne parle pas français.
Good job. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being on the show. Really appreciated having you on today. And to all of our Mac users and Mac admins out there, tell us more about what you'd like to hear about, what you'd like to know about, and happy OneDrive.
And follow Jonathan on Mac Admin Slack.
And now, upcoming events for everyone. Ignite the Tour continues to travel the globe, offering you, wherever you are, the advantages of Microsoft's annual immersive Ignite conference, including the workshops, sessions, training, learning paths, keynotes, and a whole lot more. Each tour event specializes in highlighting the technology, issues, and people of the area. Between January and February, we're covering Toronto, Shenzhen, London, Seoul, Osaka, Milan, Johannesburg, Washington, D.C., Dubai, Sydney, Singapore, Prague, Taipei, and Copenhagen.
And who's going to Singapore?
I will be in Singapore, Ankita. Thank you for bringing that up. On February 20th and 21st, I'll be live and in person in Singapore, and I'm so excited for it. Now, of course, you can find the city nearest you by checking out the link in our show notes, and you can follow hashtag MSIgniteTheTour and visit Microsoft.com/ignite-the-tour.
Singapore dates are Feb 20 and 21st. That's my birthday.
Wait, your birthday's on 2 days?
No, 21st. But yeah, I celebrate it on 2 days.
That's just how important you are. I get it. Couldn't be contained to a single day.
So Singapore dates are Feb 20 and 21.
Yes.
So all Jason Moore fans, make sure you reach Singapore to greet him and to have a great time with him. And I'm pretty sure he'll take you all out on dinner.
I'm looking forward
and celebrate my birthday.
That's right.
So, Jason, last month we talked about the importance of optimism in the workplace. What do you have for us in this new year?
I was hoping to share a great book I recently read over the holidays with our listeners. It's called How to Be an Anti-Racist by Dr. Ibrahim Kendi. And it's a story about his journey in thinking about racism. It really gives us clarity on the challenges of racism, racist policies rooted in racist ideas, and how we actively combat those by doing more than being not racist, but to actively be anti-racist.
I'm so proud of you that you're doing this topic. I mean, it's a kind of a delicate topic. What is anti-racism then?
Well, at its fundamental in the book, it really talks about fighting racist policies and racist thoughts, and the many ways that racism occurs, whether it's colorism or internalized racism or hostility to white people based on their being white and more. If you've ever wondered about how you might approach being an anti-racist, it's a great book for you on that because Dr. Kendi's got really clear perspective and guidance, and because he's gone on his own journey, it kind of helps you, see that and understand that in your own. For me, that was really interesting, to think about, okay, how have my thoughts evolved over time, and where have I arrived at? And so I thought that was really interesting in terms of just an experience to have.
So, Jason, how would I think about this in the context of my workplace?
Well, for me personally, I think I really kind of start with thinking about policies and how, are we in any way contributing to creating inequality based on race? And it may not be obvious at first, but that introspection and kind of taking the moment to think, hey, is there non-obvious effects of this or things that have been justified that aren't right and that I can actively change? So as a manager, in particular, I spend a lot of time kind of thinking about and kind of reflecting on where am I in that journey and kind of what do I need to be aware of and how can I behave in a way that's going to contribute to reducing that inequality and to calling out and changing those situations, acting, kind of locally while thinking globally around all of that.
Yeah, and I think the first step towards any change, any cause would be self-awareness or spreading the awareness.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure the book that you're recommending would do the job. It sounds great. I'll love to pick it up. And on your behalf, I would also recommend users to pick it up, even though I've not read it, but I'm sure it'll make a difference if you read it.
I'll make sure we have a link to it in the show notes.
Thank you to our guests, Brittany Chua and Jonathan Leung. To learn more about OneDrive and the latest developments, please follow our tech community blog at aka.ms/OneDrive/blog.
And please do send us your questions and feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at OneDrive, @Jasmo, and @Ankita_Kirti21. And definitely visit our show page for links, resources, and more at aka.ms/syncup. That's SYNCUP. Subscribe to and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Did you know that the most successful way people discover new podcasts is by word of mouth? So if you enjoy Sync Up, spread the word. Tell your colleagues, friends, pets, dentists. Help others learn about and find the show. We all know how important and impactful sharing can be. And if you're interested in hearing other cool shows by Microsoft, go to aka.ms/Microsoft/podcasts. There's something for everyone.
Thank you for listening to Sync Up, a show about OneDrive, the intelligent files app for Microsoft 365. We are your hosts, Ankita Kirti and Jason Moore. We'll catch up with you next month and wish you all a very happy new year.